So we're gonna jump right into it. You guys saw BlueRidge 2 Part 1. This is BlueRidge 2, the race. We got a lot of stuff that we got to cover. A whole lot of interesting things went down during this race. We're at the starting line. It is a ditch start, which means there's a ditch that you put your front wheel in that you have to start. It's the only one out of the series that runs like this, and that's kind of their theme for BlueRidge 1 and 2, or ditch starts, and they're interesting.
Thanks, everyone. 10 seconds.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Leave me a comment and hit that notification bell. That way you can see all the awesome content that makes this 10 West Moto. Just coming around the first turn, we're 6th. Coming into this just cluster. We're right here behind Scott and Randall. Actually made our way in front of them to get a couple extra spots, which was exciting for me, but at the same time extremely stressful, because I know these guys are coming. They're extremely fast. They're always placing in the top 4 or 5 positions, whether it's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. They're always placed in the top of the class, so I know they're going to be right on my tail, and I've really got to push it through this section so we can get to the open spot, because this we're walking the trail earlier and talking to the marshals and everything, and the guys that actually built this trail. This section is only about a mile long, but it's the tight spot of it, so you really got to watch your P's and Q's, if you will, going through here. And after this, it's supposed to open up to a more wide variety of different options for different line choices. But there's a lot more rocks, there's a lot more hills, and there's a lot more roots. So it's kind of a double-edged sword here. So we can blast through this section, you know, or go as slow as we want and try and make up time later on. And it's just a kind of a play on where you're good at, where you're not so great at. Trying to figure out basically the layout, because it catches us off guard a lot during this race, because it changes so much and so frequently. Now, like I said, these guys are going to be on my tail, so as soon as I went down, they were there. So, Scott came by, asked if I was good. I appreciate that, buddy. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description too. He's got some awesome videos. He's just really fast. You can actually learn a lot from Scott just by watching his videos. From how he talks to himself to keep focused during the race, to his line choices. And I compare them all the time. I really appreciate that, Scott. I'm using your videos, buddy. But a lot of, well, not a lot, but some of these things caught me off guard. Like I said earlier, with this especially, I came up to this left-hand turn and I'm trying to pin it. I'm expecting to go straight, and all of a sudden it's a sharp left-hand turn, so I had to lock it up, ended up in the bushes. But I wanted to put the whole first lap on here, but really the first lap was kind of boring, because after I went down and a few of the guys passed me, all I was doing was playing catch-up. So I wasn't really passing a whole lot of people. I was just trying to basically catch up. So I cut up the majority of the race of everything that I got on the GoPro. I think I spent a little over 2 hours in the race, in the woods, on the track, actually racing, and my GoPro got about an hour and 30 minutes of it, I think. So I cut apart some of the okay clips, some of the hill climbs, some of the passes, some of me getting past and some of the wrecks and all of that stuff in here for you guys to see, to keep it exciting, you know, keep it a little more interesting, because nobody wants to watch just a bunch of trees going by and a boring trail with a bunch of slow riders like me coming through here. So I'm going to say this about BlueRidge. Last year, BlueRidge 2, this exact same race, except it was reversed, was the only race that my awesome wife, Miss 10 West Farm, did not make it to, and the whole race I just felt off. The bike felt off. I didn't feel like we were clicking together. It just felt funny. You know, some days you have off days like that when you're out riding. And well, let me tell you guys about this one. There was a guy on my ass, and he was yelling at me saying, "Hey, get out the way." And he was being respectful, wasn't being an asshole or anything. I ended up, I thought I found a decent spot. Apparently, where I pulled off, my front wheel caught in that little log there, on a little branch on the log, and just washed out, and I went over. And that happens. Unfortunately, it happens to a lot of people. It happens to me a lot. But the guy actually stopped, and I saw him stop when I was rolling over trying to get, you know, my bearings back together, get the bike and get back up on the trail. Stopped and was asking if I was okay, and I was fine. I could care less about, you know, how I felt or anything like that. But this guy was trying to get around me, and I wrecked, and it caused him to stop. So all I said to him was to go, and he took off. Now later on, come to find out, that was Anthony. So Anthony. We'll talk about this later on in a little more detail. Anthony broke his leg in this race, and we had mentioned making a joke about it, that he had kicked me and I fell over, and that's why he broke his leg. But that's not the case. That's not what happened. And we had a fun laugh about it. But like I said, we'll definitely come back to Anthony and his injury towards the end of this video. But realistically, when it comes down to it, I'm not standing in anybody's way. If you're coming up behind me and you're yelling at me and I can hear you and I can get out of your way, whether I wreck or not, I would rather not anyone stop to see if I'm okay. If I'm obviously beaten up and broken, then yeah, maybe stop and help. But if not, I'm good. I can handle it, and I'll deal with it. Even if I'm not good, I'll still be able to deal with it. I'm not going to stand in anybody's way that's coming up behind me to get a better position or to ruin their progress in the race, because I have an issue with people that just refuse to move when I'm coming up on them. And this race is a little different. We're out of our element, basically. We're in the mountains. Even though I lived in the mountains, we grew up out there. I didn't ride out there at all. So coming out here and riding and racing in this stuff is a whole different monster. These hill climbs are crazy. They're very detailed as far as your line choice, because every time we come on this hill climb, the line is different. And mainly because of the rocks that are in the soil. And the rocks they're decent size. They're not little pebbles or anything, not like something you would find in your driveway. They're a lot bigger than that. And with all these bikes going over them and pushing them around, they move. So your line choice that you chose this past lap is not going to be the same as the next one. Now coming through scoring right here, we actually saw the score counter, the screen was covered up with a blanket, and it was kind of concerning. Because I heard the whistle go off like it read my transponder and my helmet, but I had no idea what place I was in, which was really frustrating. And I know scoring does everything they can to make sure everything is accurate and all of that, but I was confused because this has not happened so far this season about scoring. So I was wondering, like, all right, well, maybe they're just covering it up because of the dust or something like that. They didn't want dust to get all caked over it and kind of ruin the monitor, which is understandable. I don't blame them. So we decided to just say, all right, well, screw it, whatever. Whatever place we're in is whatever place we're in. The monitor's not going to help us, ride better. So we're trying to push a little harder to get through these rocks, to pass people, to get around people, so we can play catch up, so we can try and catch the guys that are in the top of our class. I have no idea where we're at right now, and basically the whole race is like this, and it's just one of those things sometimes you have to deal with. So I want to talk about suspension setup. I have not had the suspension rebuilt on this bike. It's a 2006, it's KTM, it's 300, it's XTW. I have done everything to this bike. The whole entire thing is rebuilt except for the suspension. So I actually have left side leaking fork seal. And I had every intention on filling the fork up with fluid before the race, but I just did not do it. Actually, there's no excuse. I just didn't do it, and I should have. And I'm not saying that that's what is my problem here at all, but I am going to say that I could definitely feel every bump, every rock, literally everything I felt in my hands and in my arms, which is unusual for my bike. For this bike, it is extremely unusual, and that's was kind of concerning to me. And I was a little worried, like, all right, well, why is my suspension feeling so harsh right now? And it could have been because of all the rocks, because it's a lot of sharp transitions, a lot of sharp jumps, so that maybe the rebound's not set right. Maybe, it could be a number of things. Really, I think it's just me. But after this race, I actually tore apart the suspension, checked everything out. Everything looks good. There's no broken or damaged bushings or seals or gaskets inside the suspension. And I replaced the fork seals, and everything is fine now. It feels a lot more plush, a lot more cushiony, but I still have to get it out there. I still have to ride it around a lot because I haven't taken it on its first ride since the rebuild. And I want to get it dialed back in, because I could have just completely screwed it up even more just by taking it apart to inspect everything. If you don't do it right, you don't know what you're doing, then it's extremely easy to ruin your suspension. So you got to pay attention to the details while you're taking it apart, and basically put it back together the way it was taken apart, and set it the way it was set before and after, and adjust it, and you guys know all that stuff. I may make a video on it, I may not, I'm not sure yet. There's a ton of suspension videos out there, and I really just really don't want to go through it again, tearing it all apart, even though I probably will. And if I do, I'll probably make a video on it. If anything, I'll make a video on the suspension on the Harley, because I'm going to have to redo that one as well. But back to the race video. We're coming through. We actually, on our second and third lap, now these are a little over 9 mile laps. We did 3 at the start of the race. We were told we were doing 4, which is about 36 miles, and that's a pretty decent sized race. It's a relatively long one, especially going through the mountains and transitions and the rocks and everything we're up against. But we only did 3 laps, and on the second and third lap, we felt, man, just a truckload better than we did on the first lap. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just jitters. I don't know if it was being away from home or being away from wife and our baby and all of that stuff. I don't know what it was. But it was just like last year, until the second and third lap, I started feeling a lot better, a lot more comfortable. I started picking up speed and momentum, and it felt like I was making some kind of progress to try and catch the guys that were in the top of the class, even though I know they were already long gone. And trying to catch them is like it's just not gonna happen. But really, when you're on the bike and you're in the race setting and you're going through it, thinking about that stuff, it's nothing really slows down. Everything is 175 miles an hour, so my brain is working 175 miles an hour, and I'm really just trying to push and push and push and correct small mistakes here and there, especially like in this section here. There's a little bit of off-camber stuff which really is easy to go over, in my opinion. And then you come into this rock section to where it's pretty level. There's a couple little bumps here and there, but even though it's level and there's very small bumps and transitions, the rocks just push you any which way they possibly can, 10 times worse than a root possibly will, because rocks will move. Your bike will move, the rocks will move, so everybody's moving, and you have got to try and fight against all of that stuff. So, and that basically brings us back to suspension setup. And I can guarantee any extreme enduro rider, Graham Jarvis, anybody that rides extreme enduros, Red Bull, any of that stuff, or even just general enduros, if you ask them what's the most important thing to do to your bike, they will say suspension. But I guarantee every single one of them, because I've asked a lot of these guys, what is the most important thing to do to your bike, and every single one of them says suspension setup. Make sure your suspension is dialed in. Dial in that suspension. Get some suspension. Rebuild your suspension. Every single one of them says to adjust your suspension, and that I feel like is the key. So if I can get, if we can do some trial runs up in the mountains. We're actually going to Hatfield and McCoy's at the end of October, so you guys will definitely be there for that. You don't want to miss that one. It's going to be fucking awesome. We're going to Hatfield and McCoy, and we're going to do some mountain stuff, hill climbs and shit like that. So we're actually probably going to adjust the suspension a little bit just to tweak it. We may go overboard, we may not. We're not sure yet. But I really want to get a feel on the settings for what I need to race while we're in the mountains, because what we're doing now with the suspension works here on like flat level routes, and really there's no big hill climbs like this. There's probably 20-30 feet of like straight up and down. That's about it, which is manageable. But here there's a couple hundred yards of straight up. So and transitions, and there's a lot of different angles and just all kinds of different terrain. And even though it's only 3-4 hours away, it is a world of difference when it comes to riding and suspension setup. So I want to try and figure out the different settings basically for my suspension. Now I could be going overboard with this. I could be way exaggerating it. That might be true, but I'm still going to try it because the suspension, everything I have set up for where we're racing now and where I'm comfortable racing, where I mainly ride down here in Southern Virginia, does not work in the mountains, and I didn't change anything, and I just felt uncomfortable and off on the bike, and that's one of the key factors is suspension. So we're going to play with it a little bit when we go to Hatfield and McCoy Trail. We're going to mess with it a little bit now that we have it rebuilt somewhat and see where we are at. And you guys will definitely be probably the first to know, because as soon as I get done with the rebuild, I'm going to put a video out. So we're towards, I think we're in the third lap of the race. And we're getting close to the GoPro battery dying, and we have no idea where we are at in the race. We could be last, we could be first. We literally no clue. Scoring wasn't working correctly, so we had no idea. I haven't seen anybody in my class in quite some time. People were passing me, and I would make some ground and pass one or two of them back, and then there was a lot of back and forth stuff like that throughout this race. And like I said, throughout this whole entire video, I wasn't clicking. The bike and we were not clicking together. We knew what we wanted from each other, but we wanted opposite things. and we just fought each other through this whole entire race, which is unfortunate, but it does happen when you go to different terrains, you go to different altitudes, basically you go to different areas and you ride. You figure a lot out about your bike that you didn't know, or you didn't consider, or you just weren't thinking about. And that is completely my fault. I should have thought about it. I should have considered last year we had the exact same problem. So we're going to go back to the drawing board, and we will be very much prepared to come back to Blueridge 2 next season. This race will not screw me. I will win this one. One day I will get on the podium. I will take first place in this race. It's going to happen. But either way, we're coming to the end of the video, and I want to talk to you guys about why we ride, and why we're out here racing, and why we are doing what we're doing. It's going to get a little serious, not too serious. We're still going to keep it fun, but there were some injuries during this race. Our buddy Evan, you guys saw him in the beginning of the video, Evan the dirt bike kid. His link is also going to be in the description of this video. He ended up wrecking, from what I heard, off of a bridge, and thought he had broke his back because he couldn't feel his legs, which is extremely scary considering Evan's 15th birthday just passed a few days after this race. And that's terrible, man. But luckily, even though it's unfortunate he had an accident, luckily he just hyperextended his back. He is okay. He's 100% better now. Everything's good to go with Evan. It's just a really scary thing. Another person ended up getting airlifted out of the race. I'm not sure what happened with them. I don't know their status or anything. I just know that is what happened. The helicopter came in and took them out. And this was just with our race. This wasn't with the AA or the experts or the pro riders or anything. This was just with our race. Anthony broke his leg in 2 different spots, which is really unfortunate. He was sitting in a chair when I finished the race, and as soon as I saw him, he told me he was sorry, and then told me that he's the guy that passed me when I wrecked. And I was like, oh, that's great. And he said, look, I think I broke my leg. That wasn't due to him passing me. It was just a freak accident. He figured out how he broke it and why he broke it, and he's going to work on that technique in the off season. He currently I talked to him earlier today. This is Monday the 19th. He had surgery. He is out of surgery. Everything is good to go. Everything is fine, but unfortunately he will not be able to race until next season, which really sucks because he was second right now in his class. And I mean, the guy's just crazy fast. So Chris and I ended up picking Anthony up out of his chair, getting him into his truck, and we drove him back to the down here where home's at, near Fort Lee, and got Anthony in the ER, and he's good to go now. 5 times are still kind of off. There's a few people missing, but there's not a whole lot we can do about lap times or our placement or anything like that. It is what it is, and we can make a big stink out of it, but I'd rather just enjoy going out and riding and just being on the bike, man. But fortunately, Evan's okay. That's really awesome to hear. And Anthony's okay. He's in recovery. Like right now, I talked to him a little bit ago. He's doing great. He's still in the hospital, but he's hanging out and giving the the nurses a hard time. So there's a lot of videos coming out. We have a whole lot of stuff done with the Harley that we're working on, the KTM 620, and fork seals and all that stuff with the race KTM. and just pretty much everything. I'm backed up on videos, like I said in an earlier video. I'm still backed up on videos. So we're putting this one out. After this one, we're going to do probably the first ride on the KTM 620, and then we'll do a Harley update, and whatever rides we have in between that, we might do a Let's Talk video. But regardless, I think I'm getting to the point to where I need to put out more than 1 video a week. I might try and do 2. It depends on if I can have enough time to edit it, because editing just takes so much time. It sucks. So, if you guys made it to this part of the video, I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Leave a comment. and say what's up, or just say, hey, hey, what's up, guy? So until next time, I'm Tim Westmoto, and I'll see you guys on the starting line.